It's been a while since I made a video about that simple pleasure that I always used to enjoy, and if you're new to the channel you may not be aware, but I used to do a lot of videos where I drew on cardboard. So this would be one of the cardboard packaging that I would use quite often. It's for yogurts, and it had 4 yogurts inside, and as soon as I finish one I try as best I can to put it in the recycling. Doesn't always happen, and a lot of the time it does end up in my room, in the studio, for me to doodle on. And this video is going to be one of those doodles. Now if you saw the video earlier in the week, I was talking about, it's a movement project, sketchbook session. It was basically exploring how I used colour to describe tone on a subject. I'll leave the link for the video here. Okay, there, okay. Anyway, in that video I explain that I've got an especially busy week. That's true. I'm still currently in the midst of that busyness. It's going well. It's not something I can disclose yet. I'm going to make sure that all the parties are happy with me disclosing the information, the details about the job. I've documented the first stage, not so much the second stage, so I'm going to start documenting the second stage as it progresses, and then the final stage isn't going to be my work, but I'm hoping to share it because it will be nice to show you how it all comes together, because I have been hired basically to do the preliminary sketches and the colour composition for a piece that someone else will be doing the finished work on. So that is all I'm going to disclose. That's far more than I said on the video I'd made the other day, which I think I made on Saturday but posted on a Tuesday. If you're watching this in the future, it means nothing, but like I said, the link was up there earlier on. It's not there now. This video, however, is one which I mentioned in that video that I will be making. Oh my god, this sounds so complicated. I mentioned in that video about using colour to describe tone, basically using colour to describe the different light and shadow and mid-tone. That's what I mean by tone. Using colour for that. In that video I talk about how I'm going to do an ink doodle at some point this week, so that I've uploaded a couple of videos before the podcast airs on the Friday. I try to make sure I upload more frequently these days, but this week is especially hard because of this job that I'm working on, and I'm working on nothing else. So literally I got a certain amount of the job done last night, and then I thought it's time to doodle. So that's what this video is. And it's basically just play, and that's usually how I like to approach it. Now, at some point in this doodle I thought this is not as much fun as the play I initially intended on engaging with. That can happen sometimes. So what I did instead was I thought I'm going to now deviate from this stage of the doodle because it just became a bit too laborious. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. It's never a guarantee how it's going to work out. For this doodle I am using it's a Pigma Micron Graphic 1, which is like a 1.0 nib, and it's quite nice. I like using more fine nibs than this, smaller, maybe a 0.1, but this is a 1.0, so I usually do a combination of either a 0.3 or a 0.1, or somewhere around there, combined with this so that you have a contrast of line thicknesses. But on this doodle it was just pushing everything out of this nib, and it's fun. I see a lot of illustrators and artists use these pens, and I can see why, because they are good quality, they're very nice, and yeah, it was just something which I thought, I have the time, I have this yogurt packaging which I had put in my room, so I thought I may as well draw on this for this second video for this week. Again, if you're watching this a week or so later, it's not going to mean anything, but if you keep up with the videos on my channel, then I try to make sure that I upload fairly frequently because I'm doing lots and lots of different work these days. just to go through the different things that I'm doing. I mainly, these days, I think I'm known for being an interviewer. I interview people like Paul Heaston, John Mahoney, Peter Draws, Gracina Samosir, who's my guest, which I'm uploading for this week is her part 2. But I also had Andy Soto, and in the near future, I will be featuring on my channel for the second time the fantastic, I love this person, and if you don't know her, I recommend looking her up, Gabriella Handel. She's a great interviewee and a fantastic artist, and I'm also going to be a guest on her podcast, which is quite a privilege and a first time thing for me. I've never been a guest on a podcast, and that's what I'm mainly known for doing, I think, these days, because I do a lot more interviews than anything else. So that's one of the ways that I divide my time. Now, I do have a second podcast that is launching very soon called Painting Insights with co-host Richard K. Blades. That's an exciting project. I'm looking forward to showing that to you because it's not going to be aired on this channel, but I'm going to be advertising it heavily because it's a fantastic painting resource for anyone who's interested in painting or is already a painter or knows someone who's a painter or just wants informative and interesting conversations as a podcast, or as if you're putting on a radio station. It's going to be nice long form conversations over an hour. Between an hour and an hour and a half is usually the time for each episode. We've had amazing guests. It's all very big and well-established painters, and we'll be talking to gallery owners, frame makers, curators, everything included in the painting industry we're going to include on this podcast. Now, my co-host is a professional painter and has been for over a decade. I am an amateur. I've been out plein air painting 9 times this year, and I've done a few paintings before that, but it was kind of a mixture of figurative things that I enjoy and abstract things that university kind of pushed me into. So that's that as well. That's my second podcast, but I'm really looking forward to presenting that and showing it, launching it soon. It's a lot of work, but it should be out soon. The other thing that I'm known for aside from podcasting is that I do illustrations. Now, this is a doodle which I'm doing today, but I also do illustrations, kind of, a bit more playful comic book style drawings, and I will digitally colour those. So I've been doing those more frequently this year, and I'm trying to produce those with the intention of having an exhibition at some point in the near future, maybe next year. And aside from that style of illustration that's kind of comic book style, I also do more kind of urban landscape illustrations where I'll draw something where I am visiting quite often, or I really like the look of the place, so I'll try to do things like that and studies of the public. That's a different style of illustration. It's not so much comic book style, but that's something which I used to do quite a bit of. I did quite a lot of still life illustrations, and that's part of that body of work. And in between of those two things would be my kind of studies of line and hatching and cross hatching, which I do a lot of in drawings anyway, but I did a lot of pages or several pages of basically texture studies using hatching and cross hatching. So that's another side. And then aside from those things, what I'm also trying to do is that plein air painting, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you on this video, but I have been doing. And then aside from that, what's mainly taking my focus now, aside from this job this week, is an exhibition that I'm having soon for a contemporary fine art exhibition that I'm doing with a partner who is someone who's featured on this channel before, Petra Goetze, and she's a German artist. She's lived in the UK for over a decade, and she's a fantastic artist. She does a kind of found object, upcycled, kind of very, I'd say, expressionistic kind of injection of what her kind of ideology is into the work. This may be a poor explanation, but I mean things that she really cares about and which really emotionally affect her gets funneled into the work naturally as opposed to forced into it. You can see that just channeled through the artwork, which I think is really beautiful. And that's why I say expressionistic, is because it's you know, raw emotion and visceral contact that she has with these subjects and issues. And I really respect that. I get along with her very well. I met her in university 4 years ago, and we've remained friends, which I'm really, grateful for. So I've been producing work which is more drawn, and I'm trying to move those drawings into potential sculpture, and that's something which I'm developing at the moment. And then aside from that, I'm going to be doing the illustration style stuff that I mentioned earlier for a Plankton Project exhibition, which will be happening just after our collaborative exhibition ends, because it's from the start of September to the start of October. And then after that is finished, then we'll be having an exhibition for the Plankton Project, which is great. So it's a lot of work, and this is just a video about a doodle, but doodles are important. I think it's great to have that time for play, and that's what this is. I think it's quite interesting. It's a little bit strange, but there we are. That is what I ended up with. Now, I don't try to consider these before I do them. I don't have any preconceived notion. I suppose some of the squiggles were something which happened maybe a fraction of a second before I started. I thought, oh, maybe a letter C or a letter G or somewhere between there, and I'll start curling them around each other and see how far I get. That's all that I had. So yeah, for the doodle style drawings that I do, I just try to play and see what happens, and it usually turns into a fairly interesting pattern, something almost bordering on an abstract sci-fi conceptual art thing. But it is just a doodle. I'm not trying to say that it's something which would fit in that genre without significant improvement. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, share this with friends and family. I really want the channel to grow, and with your help it will. But thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.